Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a post-apocalyptic horror film, Here Alone. Spoiler ahead, watch out, this has spread worldwide, resulting in only a few animals surviving, and some of the survivors turning into bloodthirsty zombified carriers. What's more, it's found that the infected will break out in a rash quickly. Given there's danger everywhere in the city, Anne, her husband and their baby daughter flee into the woods, where her husband is really in his element, as he was raised in a forest and knows how to survive off the land. Once they settle down, he starts to teach Anne some survival knowledge of the wilderness, for he can't protect them all the time. Anne gradually gets a good knowledge about edible insects and wild fruits, which are a good alternative in the case of food shortage. In addition, she learns how to shoot so as to protect herself better, and how to look to the soils for weather predictions. Soon, the food stores run dangerously low. As it's unlikely to survive on eating wild fruits alone, the husband ventures out in search of supplies. One night, he comes back covered in blood, and describes what just happened to him. In a place, he found many foods, but also a horde of zombies eating corpses around there. The zombies were unaware that he was there at first, but right after he hurt himself accidentally, they keenly smelled his blood, and came to attack him. Thankfully, he got out of there in time. After that, he's sure that zombies locate humans by smells, and therefore they should figure out how to cover their hormones sent from zombies. However, due to the lack of nutrition and bad living conditions, the daughter gets a fever, meaning that somebody has to go fetch some medicine at the drugstore. With Anne's help, the husband coats himself in mud and shit, so as to mask his scent before leaving. But after a long time, he still hasn't returned. Considering the daughter badly needs medicines, Anne goes find him, but breaks down halfway, as she can only see her husband's lifeless, icy body. Anne is heartbroken, but has to move on. Still, the medicine is found on him, and Anne backtracks to the camp with it and his shotgun. Then, the daughter's fever abates after taking the medicine. Although Anne is still mourning his husband's death, she has to face up to such a harsh life, and makes the desperate journey outside to forage for food alone. Meanwhile, the daughter is left inside the car covered with branches. One day, on getting inside a house, and discovers a zombie having his dinner. She cleanly shoots him, but unaware of her coat being splashed with some zombie's blood. Then, she leaves there after getting some food. Sadly, while she takes the crying daughter in her arms, the daughter gets infected from sucking the zombie's blood. Soon, Anne notices the rash on the daughter, and figures out what happened to her baby. But it's too late. Not knowing what to do, Anne gets panicked and scared, and turns to use hot towels to wipe the rash again and again, hoping the virus can be killed that way, which however, is not helpful at all. If the virus is left to infect the whole body, the daughter will suffer far more. After thinking it over, Anne feeds the daughter crushed painkillers mixed with her blood. But the daughter dies at last, and Anne feels guilty about it. While dealing with the trauma of losing her family, Anne struggles to survive alone. She collects her own feces, and coats herself in them every time before venturing out. One day, before sneaking into a house, and hangs a radio up on the wire fence, and smears her blood on it. Then, the zombies nearby are drawn to gather around the radio, which will buy her more time in searching the house for supplies. However, she only finds some canned food there, and later cuts her belly by the iron wire, while leaving the damn place. Suddenly, the zombies are all attracted by her blood, and come charging at her. Anne races back like hell, before she can grab the canned food. Back to the camp, she sews up the wound, and continues searching for food when having rested enough. Shortly after, Anne comes across teenage Olivia and her stepfather. The stepfather is seriously wounded and unconscious. Anne approaches them warily, and puts down the gun, until Olivia proves him uninfected by showing he hasn't got a rash. Out of sympathy, Anne takes the helpless Olivia and her stepfather back to the camp. Olivia tells Anne that the rest of her family were all killed due to the zombie attack, though she and the stepfather narrowly escaped. Then, Anne opens up her camp to them, and takes Olivia to look for food, and collect feces out in the woods, before the father recovers consciousness. Coming to his senses, the father says that the epidemic had been contained in the north, and therefore he intends to head north with Olivia. Moreover, he invites Anne to join them, since they can drive her car and get there faster. However, Anne says the car doesn't have enough gas to make it. And more importantly, she won't leave the place where her family are buried. Hearing that, he says nothing more. The next morning, the stepfather is about to leave with Olivia, when the rain pours down. Knowing the weather will turn worse, he has to delay the departure, and Anne shares her food with them. While the stepfather and Anne grow close, Olivia is unhappy about that, because she also has a crush on her stepfather. One day, the three of them go fishing. There, the stepfather says a lot to Anne that it is a good feeling, for they both suffered the pain of losing loved ones, and sympathize with each other, and that although he feels guilty about killing his zombified wife to save Olivia, he has been trying to move on, and remembers the good times to be less pessimistic. Anne knows he can do that, for he is pretty rational, but in her case, she still can't let go of her family's tragic deaths by far, and would never forgive herself for killing her daughter. Over time, Anne is influenced by this man, but she still doesn't want to leave the place. On the other side, Olivia repeatedly tells the stepfather she want to leave soon, but he always says they should prepare enough food for their journey before leaving. Actually, he has fallen for Anne, and doesn't want to leave her alone. Therefore, he keeps finding reasons to stick around longer. Finally, Olivia can't help but ask him if he has to take Anne to head north together. The father doesn't deny it, and just replies that Anne is a great survivalist and a responsible person, and if Anne joins them, it's good for all of them, since Anne will definitely take good care of Olivia. Then, Olivia says nothing more, for she knows he likes Anne indeed. So she decides to do something to win him back. One night, Olivia waits in his tent stark naked, and intends to tell him she wants to be his lover, rather than his stepdaughter. However, the stepfather doesn't come back to his tent, rather going find Anne, as he hates to continue hiding his hormone feelings for Anne. As a hormone-mature female, Anne knows what he wants in no time, and desires for his smelly hormones as well. Then, it takes the two lonely but horny souls to play an intense, but lightning-fast hormone game, while Olivia is bitterly disturbed to hear their hormone noises. After bundling herself up in a blanket, Olivia leaves the camp alone, but soon after encounters a zombie before having gone far. While in the car, the nasty two are still snuggling. Then the stepfather suggests Anne should leave. In his opinion, it means only death to stay in the same place, just like Anne's family. Hearing that, Anne turns angry, and gets out of the car. She soon finds Olivia has gone. When being about to look around for Olivia, they hear her screams and rush in that direction. The stepfather knocks the zombie to the ground. Anne wants to help, but finds her gun is not loaded. The stepfather grabs the gun, and strikes the zombie dead with the gun butt. Instead of blaming Olivia, Anne takes her back to the camp to dress her wounds. Later, the stepfather insists they set out tomorrow, since he can say for sure that more zombies will find this place sooner or later. But Anne still can't let go of the fact that she is responsible for her daughter's death, and can't accept that she betrays her dead family, and leaves them alone to save herself. The stepfather doesn't give up, explaining that Anne is punishing herself by holding on to the unpleasant past, and her family would not want her to waste her life in that way. At last, Anne agrees to leave, and visits her family's graves to say goodbye. Before leaving, they plan to scavenge for more food on a nearby farm. In front of the farmhouse, the stepfather smears his blood on the body, and runs away to create a diversion to the zombies. Meanwhile, Anne and Olivia are supposed to go fetch food inside the house. However, Olivia acts as a drag on the mission, and strangely moves around but not grabs food. Suddenly, Olivia hits Anne and ties her up, and then runs right away, after screaming out loud to attract the zombies. Before bad things happen, Anne frees herself, and pours urine all over her body to cover her hormone smell immediately. Soon, she finds some zombies out there. Without any hesitation, she hides into a fridge until the zombies are all gone. When Olivia joins up with the stepfather beside the car, some zombies follow her to the place, and try to attack them. And the stepfather struggles hard to battle with the rampaging zombies. Fortunately, Anne hurries back to the car in time. However, at that critical moment, she can save only one of them with one gun. And it's really hard for her to make a decision. In the final scene, the stepfather dies due to the zombie attack, showing that Anne makes her choice to save Olivia, instead of her fast and shitty hormone partner. Shortly after, Anne drives away with Olivia, leaving the bloodthirsty zombified land, but heading north for a hormone-thirsty, unknown world. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Peace out.